Hello, and welcome to So It's a Show? This is a podcast where we attempt to keep up with Lorelai and Rory's pop culture references on Gilmore Girls, focus on attempt to. I'm Kyla.
I'm Taylor.
And
welcome to the show.
Yeah, let's get this thing going.
Yeah.
Extra excited today.
3. Woo! Okay, I'm just being the audience, like, if Oprah were going like, you get an episode and you get an episode, I'm the person in the audience who's freaking out.
Is this as exciting as getting a car?
I think so. I think that listening to our podcast is on the same emotional high experience of getting a product worth $20,000 for free.
My Taylor, you have lots of confidence. I appreciate it.
Maybe it's because I'm drinking coffee from my Luke's mug, but I feel very confident right now.
Are you drinking decaf?
No.
Wow, you are a beast.
I'm a weirdo. I drink decaf during the day and then caf at night. I'm weird.
Why do you do that?
Convenience. We don't have decaf coffee at home.
Oh my gosh, but is there only decaf at work?
No, I drink decaf at work intentionally because I don't want to get addicted to caffeine.
That is too funny. I don't know where to put you on the coffee lover spectrum.
I know, I like the flavor. I don't drink it for the caffeine. So,
that's impressive.
I'm a weirdo.
I think you're a fanatic.
Mm-hmm.
Well, Lorelai would appreciate it, I'm sure. So in the spirit of honoring Lorelai, let's dive right on into a reference that Lorelai says herself.
Yes, so this is episode 2, The Lorelai's First Day at Chilton. It is an episode title that gets echoed again with The Lorelai's First Day at Yale.
I didn't realize that. So here's the clip.
Pizza for your thoughts.
I wish I could figure out a way to get Paris off my back.
Yeah. Angry chicks are the worst. When I was in high school, I had a Paris.
Yeah?
Yeah, she was horrible.
How'd you get rid of her?
I got pregnant and dropped out.
What if I just learned to French braid her hair?
Even better. Sweetie, you can't let those kids get you down.
I know.
Do you want me to talk to anybody? A parent, a teacher, a big guy named Moose?
This is when Rory had just had a bad first day at Chilton, which I'm sure you remember because she met mean girl Paris.
Yes, and mean guy Tristan, who called her Mary all day.
That was so annoying.
Ugh, Tristan.
Yeah, not my favorite.
Me either.
Did you like him worse than Paris?
On the first day of Chilton, I think I disliked them about equally because they were both antagonists to Rory. But in the long run of the show, of course, I love Paris way more than I love Tristan.
Okay, makes sense.
Yes.
So what did you think when you first heard her mention a random big guy named Moose?
So actually, I wasn't even sure if it was a pop culture reference because a little background, we were looking for something to talk about in our next episode, and I was looking at the script for episode 2, and I started jotting down a bunch of ones that I recognized, and then I wrote down big guy named Moose. Is this even a pop culture reference? And I didn't know. And Kyla, you were like, yeah, it is. So I was like, this might be a good one to talk about because I don't know anything about it.
Time for Kyla to teach Taylor.
Yes, I am the student today. I am the Rory to your Lorelai.
So I don't know if when I first watched this episode, I recognized it because it is very obscure. But when I saw it written on my screen, I recognized it immediately because it was just there by itself being called out. Let's dive into what we think it means, what I think it means. Very close, near and dear to my heart.
Yes.
Okay, so this reference is from the beloved Archie Comics. Archie Comics is a long-running comic book series. First came out in 1942, and it's about just a bunch of teens, a group of friends going to Riverdale High. I don't know that they ever leave high school except for in a couple much later comic books, kind of special versions. The main character is Archie, and he's got a couple of girlfriends, Betty and Veronica, who he just can't seem to choose between, and for some reason they've stuck with him for 70 years to try to find out what he's gonna do.
Yeah, you're
Not-
gonna have to fill me in on that a little bit because I'm a little confused.
Confused about what?
So, well, I don't want to cut into your history lesson here, but I will tell you, in one of the issues I read, I was very confused about the relationship status between Archie, Veronica, and Betty. So I'll just leave that there. You do your history lesson, and then when I talk about the issue that I read, we can dive into this.
I can't imagine why you would ever be confused about the dynamic of their relationships.
Love triangles, they're complicated.
They are, don't we know? It was written by John Goldwater, and he wanted to create a comic just about normal people. Normal guy who everyone could relate to. So he chose Archie, a freckled redhead, definitely the guy next door. He called him America's newest boyfriend. So he kind of wanted everyone to fall in love with him just like Betty and Veronica had.
That is even a little more bold than me saying that our podcast is the equivalent of a $20,000 car. It's like, here, everyone fall in love with this person.
I feel like that is a thing that they always want to do, though. Shows want. I mean, like the way that they market lead characters, though. I mean, Twilight, they got teenage girls to wish for a vampire boyfriend.
Well, this is fair. But
Like-
once again, when we get to this issue I'm going to tell you about, I have some thoughts on Archie as a boyfriend.
Oh, boy. Okay, well, one interesting thing about the comic book series, though, is how they always kept with the times. So it didn't just stay in the 40s because us nowadays would not understand what these kids were talking about with their bazooka bubblegum. Be like, where's the internet? Oh, gosh.
Because that's what kids say in 2016. Where
It
is
is,
the
right?
internet?
I need to find the YouTube. So that's I think why it stayed around for so long. And in 2011, so just 5 years ago, a copy of the first Archie comic book sold at auction for $167,000. And that was a world record for a non-superhero comic book.
Whoa.
So it's kind of the leader of non-Batman, Superman, Captain America comics.
Well, and if our podcast is worth $20,000 per episode, that's a lot of episodes of our podcast. As you can see, I know more about pop culture than I do about math, so I'm not going to do that right now. But somebody, you can do the math, and that's a lot of episodes.
Let us know. So we'd have to do a few to be able to purchase this
Yeah,
book.
yeah. I guess it's about... No, never mind. I'm not going to pretend to do the math. It's going to be wrong.
Do it later.
Yeah.
So, and me personally, I have been reading Archie comics since, I'm going to say preteen times. Whenever we'd go to grocery store, I would see a new one up in the stands,
Yes.
and I'd bat my eyes at my mother, and I would not always get one, that is for sure. But after I had read through my newest one several times, she would finally cave and let me get another one. So I have a huge stack of them, which is funny because I'm not into any other comics. It's just Archie comics. I just think it's funny, quirky, entertaining, and now I have a collection. So I'm not sure where they are. I have one at my current home, so maybe they're in my parents' basement or something.
Gotcha.
But so this Archie comics are near and dear to my heart. So that's Archie comics in general, but we haven't even talked about Moose, who Lorelai is even referencing.
Yeah, so Moose, as we know now, or as I know now, maybe everybody else knew this, but I did not know Moose was a character in Archie comics. My knowledge of Archie comics before this episode was that there is a guy named Archie and Betty and Veronica, and that was it. And it's funny you mentioned seeing them at the grocery store because that's definitely where I saw them as a kid. So then, once you started mentioning like Jughead, I'm like, oh, I kind of recognize that name. However, there are also plenty of other moose. Like, moose is actually a kind of fairly common nickname to find in pop culture, I'm discovering. So Kyla, here, I understand Wikipedia is not the best resource for 100% factual knowledge, but it is a good jumping off point to just try and get a broad understanding of things. And so when I was trying to figure out who had the nickname Moose, I started noticing a trend. So I'm going to read you some of the professions of some of these people with the nickname Moose, and let me know if you pick up on a trend here.
All right.
This first guy, Andre Dupont, he was a Canadian former National Hockey League player. George Earnshaw, he was a Major League Baseball pitcher. Wesley Engelhorn, he was an American football player and coach. Moose Gardner, a National Football League player. Moose Goheen, an American Hall of Fame ice hockey player. By the way, I might be butchering some of these names. I'm fully aware. Here's another one. American baseball player. Swedish National Hockey League goaltender. Ice hockey player. And then here comes my favorite person. This is Moose Krause. He had a full life, apparently. He lived from 1913 to 1992. And he was an American football, basketball, and baseball player, track athlete, coach, and college athletics administrator.
Gosh.
So, do you sense a trend here at all?
It's certainly not their real names sounding like Moose, because they don't at all, except for the ones who are named Moose.
Yeah.
Yeah, athletic dudes.
Yeah, which fits perfectly, I have discovered, with Moose from Archie, because he does all sorts of sports, and it sounds like he is the best player in the school. He has a lot of experience, very athletic. And so I just thought that was super funny that there are a lot of people. There's also at least one guy wrestler whose nickname is Moose, and at least one girl wrestler whose nickname is Moose.
Interesting.
Yeah. So, and then there's another person who has the nickname Moose, and I think Gilmore Girls fans would have an interest in it. And so let's play this clip and see if any Gilmore Girls fans recognize this character nicknamed Moose in another show.
How long does it take to transfer a demonic phone call?
Can it, Moose? Listen to Moose, Squirrel. Oh, Moosey, isn't it obvious?
This is not something that I knew until we were researching for this one too, but Jared Padalecki, well, I did know this part. Jared Padalecki is now starring in Supernatural, which is in its, holy cow, coming up on its 12th season on the CW, which makes it one of the longest running sci-fi shows in history on television, which is crazy.
When we were kids. Well, like teenagers, preteens.
Well, it started when Gilmore Girls was still on. So,
Yeah.
which is, I'm a little fuzzy on whether he left Gilmore Girls to go to Supernatural or where that exact time gap was. But I think at one point he was guest starring on Gilmore Girls while he was on Supernatural. I'd have to double check dates, but I think so. One of his nicknames on the show is Moose because
Random.
yeah, there's a guy on the show named Crowley who is their sometimes ally for the brothers on the show, and he calls the two brothers Moose and Squirrel as a nod to the plucky heroes of Rocky and Bullwinkle. So, Moose and Squirrel. Yes, I watched quite a bit of Rocky and Bullwinkle as a kid at my grandparents' house. So
I did not.
yes,
at
it
all.
is. That is one that is near and dear to my heart.
Just like Archie to me.
Yes, something I got introduced to as a kid and will always just be a warm and fuzzy place of memories at my grandparents' house.
A thunder of jets in an open sky, a streak of gray, and a cheerful... A loop, a whirl, and a vertical climb, and once again you'll know it's time for the adventures of Rocky and Bullwinkle and friends.
Oh my, Taylor, you have lots of confidence. I appreciate it.
Okay, so back to the actual moose that we're talking about today. I just thought that was a fun little tidbit of trivia for Team Dean fans out there and Gilmore Girls fans. So I actually read several issues, skimmed a few. There's a handy dandy Archie Comics app, and they have a whole free comic section. So that was a good introduction for me. And I read Archie number 614. Which is all about new students coming to Riverdale. And here's part of my confusion with the Betty and Veronica thing, because for most of the issue, Archie, he's sort of a school ambassador, and there's a whole bunch of new kids at the school. It sounds like there was some sort of school merger. And he keeps leading kids around the school or trying to help them find their classes, etc. But he keeps helping the female students. And so Betty and Veronica are getting mad at him, and all these other girls, they're like kissing him on the cheek. He's like a blind student who he's helping walk her to her class, but she like links arms with him while they're walking there. And I guess the implication is that she doesn't need that much assistance. She just wants to be that close to Archie. And so Betty and Veronica are mad at him. And so they keep saying, well, why don't you help the male students? And then at the end of the issue, he hears that Moose is getting in a fight with another new student named Victor. And so he runs outside and he's like, I told you I was trying to help. Maybe this will prove it, or prove I'm nuts. And then he tackles Moose and Victor. But it turns out Moose and Victor were just starting to practice doing football together. So they were just scrimmaging. Yeah. So they weren't even mad. But then Moose and Victor are friends by the end, and they're on the football team together.
How nice.
Yes. There you go.
Oh, when you explain it like that, it makes it seem, I don't know, so simple and kind of cheeky.
So it feels a little corny to me, but at the same time, it feels like just such a good-natured, like, I hope you don't take this comparison as an insult. Some people might. I don't mean it as an insult, but like it feels like Full House to me a little. Like it's this comfort place. Like it's not meant to be super deep, but you're like gonna learn a lesson, and it all turns out okay.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that's true. And it's not all, like, there aren't lessons at the end of each story. Sometimes. I mean, there's even one I just was reading today, and it was pointed, like, Jughead was trying to get out of going to school, and everything turned out well in the end. And he said, this could only happen in a comic book, so don't you try it at home, kids. So that was pretty pointed, but...
Yes, that one's a little more obvious.
A little bit. Okay, but... it's not all happy and innocent. Betty and Veronica, let's dive into this.
Okay, yeah, you gotta fill me in, because I was confused about how both of them felt like he owed his attention to both of them, like, as opposed to all these other girls. Anyway.
So, Archie, Betty, and Veronica, it is a love triangle that lasts the entire series. And there are what would you call them? There are comics where one of them wants him to choose, but they always end up in the end, oh, I'd rather have some of you than none of you. So he absolutely gets to have his cake, eat it, make another cake, pile it on top, keep eating it. He gets it all. But you got to understand the two characters, kind of what he's choosing between. So Betty is the nice, sweet, I'm going to help you write your paper. I'm going to be there for you, be really nice to you, not demanding. I just want to spend time with you, Archie. She's that girl. She's really supportive, sweet, the kind that your parents would love you to bring home. And Veronica is the demanding, wealthy, spoiled girl who wants all of his attention, far more than Betty demands him for it, and wants to be taken to fancy places, even though Archie is just, I get the sense of about middle class. His dad works at a diner. So, a diner, Luke.
Yeah, there you go.
So, she, and she is the more sexy character, whereas Betty's just the more sweet and pretty woman of the two. So there's this allure, this, I don't know, kind of when why is it sometimes that when someone's mean to you, it makes you just want to try even harder to get them to appreciate you. So that's the dynamic there. So, but it is consistent since 1942 when it first came out. That has been the relationship of the three of them.
Huh. Well, that's funny. I read another issue, it's escaping me now. It was an issue of Archie and the Gang or Archie and Friends, but Veronica's dad was having a huge Hollywood party at their house that she was planning the party for.
So you saw that rich, spoiled part of her life.
Yes, just a little snippet of it.
And because after we saw this reference, I thought, I wonder if some of these characters mirror the characters in Gilmore Girls. And I definitely think they do. I would love to hear what you think and what other people think. But here's what I came up with. So Archie, the beloved, wanted, sweet guy, is definitely Rory.
Okay.
And then we have Jughead, who we haven't talked about as much, but he is completely driven by food. He's pretty lazy. He's fun, and he's actually really smart. And he is definitely Lorelai. He's Archie's best friend in the world.
Gotcha.
So the two of them together end up in some interesting predicaments. So definitely Archie and Jughead, Rory and Lorelai.
And is Jughead wearing a hat or a crown?
It's a crown hat?
Is that a thing?
I guess so.
I just keep looking at it and I'm like, what is that? Like, where do you get something to put on your head that looks like that?
I do not know where they came up with that. It is a gray crown that he is always wearing on his head, and actually in one comic story it inspired an entire fashion show that was going on at Riverdale. So there's that.
Well, he's just got some interesting fashion choices. And there's
a
little tint of blue in his hair.
Yeah, he's a wacky dude.
All right. Like Lorelai.
Just like Lorelai. She wears what she wants and works it.
That is true.
Inspires fashion shows.
Yes, like the B-52 shirt. And the cowboy boots and denim shorts.
Yep, but mostly she just wears button-ups that are conveniently unbuttoned, right smack in the middle.
Yes, which I always just thought that was an interesting choice at work.
Yeah.
I mean, she pulls it off, but at the same time, I'm like, you are very ambitious for the workplace.
Yeah, it's just right on the cusp of there's that. So
yes.
So then we have the love triangle, Betty and Veronica, and I thought about a lot of different ways that these could symbolize Rory's three love interests, but I think the most fitting is that Betty, the sweet, good girl that everyone thinks Archie should be with because he's so nice to her, is definitely... Who do you think?
Well, when you were describing actually the love triangle a few minutes ago, I thought of Dean.
Yeah, definitely Dean.
Okay.
So she's nice, just like Dean. We all think Dean is so kind to Rory. Shouldn't he be with her? And we have our opinions that maybe they don't jive as well as other options. But...
and as far as season 1 Dean goes, I like him. He is a nice guy as a first boyfriend.
I just don't think niceness, it just doesn't cover everything, there's got to be more. Definitely doesn't.
Which is why I don't think they're a good match in the long run. But in season 1, I'm like, oh, good first boyfriend.
Yes, definitely. So Betty, sweet, Dean. And then Veronica, I thought could go a couple different ways for different reasons, but I landed on Veronica due to her wealth, if that doesn't make it obvious. She has the connections, suave. She is a go-getter. She is...
Logan!
Yes, she is. So this doesn't necessarily reflect who I would rather have Rory end up with in comparison with Betty and Veronica and Archie.
Mm-hmm.
But I think that's the most fitting. So then we have Reggie, who's the mean guy. He picks on people. He wants the girls. He wants to be the best. He wants what he wants. He is. Say it with me.
Paris!
Yeah. So they want different things. Reggie wants to be the best athlete. He wants Veronica a lot of the time.
Oh.
Which wouldn't work in the Gilmore Girls world. But he goes after it, just like Paris. She wants student council, the Franklin, Harvard, Yale Daily News. She just wants to be the best.
Well, and in the issue I read of Archie, he stuck a sneezing powder bomb in a supply closet.
What is a sneezing powder bomb?
Well, I'm not 100% sure, but he was trying to prank the new students. But then someone who signed their note Prankenstein moved the sneezing powder bomb to the teacher's lounge, which got Reggie Mantle in the principal's office.
Oh my gosh, I love you explaining these because they sound so cheesy. Oh my word.
Well, and I want you to know that Archie somehow got credit from for moving the sneezing bomb, even though he didn't, and it caused some girl to give him a kiss because she was like, "You saved me from the sneezing powder bomb, Archie," and she kisses him on the cheek.
On the cheek.
Yeah,
Madness.
which is making Betty and Veronica super mad. I mean, there are
Understandably.
flames coming out of Veronica's head in the background.
Oh, yep. Not surprising. So I don't understand why Betty and Veronica stick around for Archie no matter what.
That
But-
is loyalty. Or Stockholm Syndrome. One or the
He doesn't
other.
kidnap them.
I don't know. That just seemed like the other option here. I mean, they've never left Riverdale. How do we know Archie is not keeping them there?
He's the mastermind behind it all.
Yeah, he's the school ambassador. Maybe he doesn't let people leave.
Yeah. Well, see, so one thing about these comics is that something that happens in one story definitely does not carry over to the next. So that student ambassador role does not go with him.
Oh, I see.
He gets one shot at it, and then he's done.
Oh, I guess he failed. He didn't really help the new students adjust well.
No, not well at all. So that's how I thought they fit most. Now, the character I left out, the one we're talking about, Moose.
Moose!
Kind of a mystery. So Moose is not a main character in the comics, but he is the big jock. He has a girl, Midge. She's pretty nice and smart. But Moose, not a lot of brains there. Simple guy. Kind of tags
picked up on
along.
that.
Yeah. Tries to just keep his grades average so that he can play in the next football game. But that's about it. He does not have a lot of depth. But he is always there for Archie and the gang when they need him. So if someone's picking on them, he steps up. So he's a good friend. He's just not the smartest in the bunch. So I wasn't sure who this could be, but the one I thought he fit most with was Luke. Now, not calling Luke an idiot. I do not think Luke is dumb, but he is simple, and certainly academics is not, he didn't go to college. It wasn't something he was ambitious for. But he's always there. He is always there for Rory and for Lorelai with whatever they need. And sometimes he can seem a little unapproachable with his rough demeanor, just like Moose, and his muscles and height can make him seem a little intimidating. They're really not. They're both really sweet.
Yeah, that's a really good comparison because Luke definitely has that like bristly exterior, like where he always like pretends to be annoyed with Lorelai and he is actually very annoyed with Taylor. But I think deep down, he definitely has an affection for Lorelai, but I think even deep down he enjoys that arguing with Taylor a little bit. Like it drives him crazy, but it's also just what they do,
Yeah. I would agree with that.
yes. But I don't think he would ever wish harm. Well, he says he wishes harm on Taylor, but I don't think he actually would.
No, but man, when he says it, those are some of my favorite parts. Him just yelling and spouting off. Because it's interesting because Lorelai and Rory spout off, but in a very different way. It's not an angry way, but Luke gets clever when he's upset.
Yeah, that's a good point. He is like his most witty when he's yelling at Taylor. Like maybe he like thinks of those insults and like writes them down or like holds them inside and then saves them for Taylor.
I think so. Writes them down in his journal.
Yeah.
Just wait until next
journal.
No, I can't picture that.
No, he would probably say it's a bunch of mumbo jumbo or something.
Yes, yeah, he would. Hello, and welcome to So It's a Show? This is a podcast where we attempt to keep up with Lorelai and Rory's pop culture references on Gilmore Girls. Okay, so I think we've covered what Archie Comics is as in-depth as we can in this small amount of time because I love it so much. But group of friends, there for each other, their characteristics really play off of each other. So now, how does this fit into the world of Gilmore Girls?
The more we talk about it, the more I think in Riverdale, it feels like, in my very minutia of experience with it, it feels like a pretty small, tight-knit community, kind of like Stars Hollow, and like everybody has their role. Everybody has their role, everybody has their personality, and of course that's part of just being a long-running comics thing too, but it feels like Moose really is the character you go to for help. Like, that's something you see over the course of the show. Like, when Lorelai needs help, she goes to Luke repeatedly, even when they're not romantically involved, because she knows he's a dependable friend and she can count on him.
So it's a show? This is a podcast where we attempt to keep up with Lorelai and Rory's pop culture references on Gilmore Girls. Focus on attempt.
Okay, so here's a question. So you already knew about Archie Comics and understood this reference, but now that we've looked a little bit more into the history of Archie Comics and looked into the history of the name Moose a little bit, does that change how you read the scene at all?
I think it makes me appreciate it a little more because it does come across as a completely random choice. Because Moose does sound like a big guy, beat 'em up name. But looking at it in the context of Archie Comics, Moose is a really lovable guy. He's sweet. You know, he can beat you up, but mostly he just wants to hang out with the friends and be there for him. So, yeah, it doesn't feel as random. It feels thoughtful, which is how all the references are in Gilmore Girls. They are well thought through.
Yeah, I would agree with that. And like I said before, I didn't even know it was a pop culture reference when she said it. I really thought maybe she was just saying Moose because it could be the name of a big, scary person, which I realize is cliche, and there might be plenty of people named Moose who are not big, scary people. But now that I know that, I appreciate that so much more, and I knew about Archie Comics, or I knew of them, but now I actually know way more about it, and I think that fits really well with that scene when Paris is causing trouble for Rory.
And I should mention this, Reggie and Moose, so Paris and Luke, Reggie and Moose do clash quite a bit, so it would make sense for him to come save the gang from Reggie. He's kind of a love-hate character.
Gotcha. Well, and Luke and Paris don't have tons of scenes together, but I think he would go to bat for Rory in front of Paris.
Absolutely. Oh my. My, Taylor, you have lots of confidence. I appreciate it. What? Are you drinking decaf? Wow, you are a beast. Why do you do that? Oh my gosh, but is there only decaf at work? That's our show?
Yeah.
That's our show.
Ta-da!
We did it!
You get an episode, and you get an Archie comic, and you get a Moose. And you get a moose, and you get a squirrel.
And here's a hockey puck and a football.
Yes, and a baseball.
And a swimming cap.
Oh, I don't know if I saw any meese who are swimmers. Moose.
Is that the plural? No, it's just moose.
It is. I know, but I wish it were meese. There's a band named Meese, and I like to think it's because they wish the plural of moose was meese.
Interesting.
It's probably one of the most intelligent things I've ever said. I'm having a real moose moment over here.
But let us know if you agree with this. Do you think she was talking about moose? I like to think that Amy Sherman Palladino is a lover of Archie comics, read them when I was reading them, and inserted this into her show. But you're welcome to disagree. So you can find us on Twitter at soitsashow or Gmail, soitsashow@gmail.com.
Yeah, and rate us, share a review. We want to know what you're interested in hearing about, and especially with Archie comics, there's so much to that history and so many issues, so I am confident we did not cover every single aspect of every character. So,
but there's that free app. What's that free app called?
Woo! Let's see. I have it right here on my phone. It is called Archie. There you go. It's got a cutesy little picture. It has a blue background with Archie, Betty, and Veronica, and it says Archie Comics.
I'm going to download that now.
Yeah, and if you scroll down, there's like some free issues. So
nice.
But I think they're even having a holiday sale. We did not get sponsored by Archie Comics, by the way.
Yeah, we didn't.
I just thought this was a really cool app. Like, hey, look, Christmas collection. Ooh.
But if they want to sponsor us, they're welcome to.
Yeah, 99-cent Christmas comic sale.
Woo! Archie Comics, the best
Archie
app ever.
Yeah, Archie, Betty, and Veronica, and Santa hats. Full disclosure, we are not sponsored by them, but it's a cool app. So if you like comics, like Archie, like Kyla,
enjoy. Or if you just want to raid my collection, I'm open to sharing those too.
Yes, you just have to find them first.
Yes, I do need to do that. So you can tweet at me at Kyla Carnero, KYLACARNEIRO, because my name is not easy to spell. And let me know if you want to borrow someone.
Yes, and I'm Taylor, and you can find me at tblake24.
So much easier.
It's not as cool though. You can't say my name with the same sass and pizzazz that you say with yours.
Kyla Carnero.
Yes, You just sound amazing, like you're a super movie star.
Thank you. All right, well, our next episode, we didn't plan this out, so we can't tease it. So it'll be from episode 3.
Kill Me Now. Episode 3 from season 1 of Gilmore Girls. We'll keep you in suspense.
Ooh. All right, until then, enjoy your day.
Yes, we are still working on a sign-off for this.
Yeah.
So, if you have suggestions, we are open to those too.
We are. So until then.
Adios.
Ciao.
Ciao. From Archie and the gang.